Welcome to the 6th episode of Shot in Nostalgia, where we continue our deep dive into the history of wrestling and fully immerse ourselves in a timeline. We are continuing the journey through WCW 1996 to relive one of the most memorable times to be a wrestling fan. As always, I'm Stephen Acefield, the ace of the Tavern, joined by my fellow time-traveling pal and almost Vegas. Well, actually, you are in Vegas as we speak.
Yes.
Hello to Bellcaster, Mike Bellcaster. What's up, dude?
Nothing much, man. Getting stoked. Clearly, I'm here already, so I'm having a great time out in good old Las Vegas. It's Sin City. How are you not going to enjoy yourself, right?
Kayfabe is alive and well, baby. But full transparency,
Right,
we're recording this right before Mike's about to take his departure to Double or Nothing weekend. So hopefully you guys are enjoying some potential perks of him being out there, and maybe throughout the weekend, you guys just stay tuned in the Tavern because there's going to be a lot of good things going on over there.
Always is, and I promise I'm going to make something fun out of all this. So just make sure you're tuning into all the socials. Be aware, we might be popping up live randomly. Just enjoy yourselves. It's tomorrow is Fan Fest, so it's going to be a good time. I'm going to be there. Find this hat. Look for the shirt. I'm not wearing the shirt right now.
From Double or Nothing at this point, with CM Punk versus Hangman Page, you're going to be in the building, man. How stoked are you?
I am beyond ecstatic. This is my second AEW pay-per-view ever, and my fourth and fifth show. So I'm very excited for it, man. It's going to be cool. I can't wait to be in the building no matter what. If Punk wins, of course, as a Chicago boy, I'm going to be, rolling in the fences. And if Hangman wins, I'm still going to be happy. So regardless, I'm here for some good wrestling, and I'm just here for it. You know how that is.
Yeah, reiterating what you were saying on Sessions. I mean, we're just enjoy the ride, everybody. Let's just enjoy the ride, and then Sunday's gonna be fun no matter what happens.
Yeah, no, it's a hard thing to do, to kind of just sit back and enjoy what's happening without having emotions tied to anything. But it's a good way to do it. I'm always happy after every pay-per-view. I'm always happy after each show. It makes it more fun for me, right? So that's how it should be for everybody.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. And I think the big thing about this pay-per-view, it could be a turning point. We are living in a time where you didn't think you were going to have this. I mean, CM Punk in a world title match, this is something huge. And 20 years from now, Shot Nostalgia about 2022.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be here to call that CM Punk match in no time, brother.
So. Well, yeah, only a matter of time before Punk has a podcast with Conrad Thompson, right? 20 years from now. So let's get into it, man. Today we're going to be reviewing the March 11th episode of Nitro and also the March 18th episode of Nitro in 1996, of course. Each week we'll be reviewing 2 episodes of Nitro or pay-per-views. Just guys keep that in mind. So try to fit the 2 episodes in. I'll let you guys know at the end of the episode what the next 2 events would be, so you guys can keep up and be prepared for our next episode, which will be on June 3rd. So believe it or not, we're already cruising into June, man. Turnbuckle Tavern Summer is going to be quite on fire.
Oh, it's going to be hot, as the forecasters and pro wrestling fans will say. We're in for some treats. We're going to have a good time here.
We're going to be your beach pals. You guys can bring us. I mean, hopefully you get some Wi-Fi on the beach. You guys go there. You can listen to all these shows. You got endless content. You don't have to read a book. You bring the Turnbuckle Tavern with you to the beach. Just don't get sand on your phone.
Yeah, or do. I don't know. It's your phone.
Whatever, it's your phone. I got the OtterBox maybe, but we're in 1996. Let's go into happy hour. We're going to get into the news of wrestling and go through the newsletters, our favorite part. All right, man. So we're here to go through the newsletters from the 2 newsletters that are in conjunction with our Nitro episodes. So the first newsletter we have to review is from March 11th, 1996. And we got some big news in here. First thing listed, we've been waiting for it. They hinted at it last week. But Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Diesel, officially gave his notice that he would be leaving World Wrestling Federation to accept an offer from World Championship Wrestling in a phone call with Vince McMahon at 10:50 a.m. on March 5th. So before we get into the contract terms and what was being talked about with money-wise, talk about the significance of this moment. And now that we can kind of look at it with all the different facts that go around it and what happened, this has to be the pivotal moment in the Monday Night Wars, right? Because Hall can't be Hall without Nash at his side. Or maybe he could.
I mean, he could be. I think Hall would have did fine without Nash, but you're talking one of the biggest moments, and not just the Monday Night Wars, but pro wrestling in general. Like we got two big contracts leaving one company to go for guaranteed money, guaranteed dates at another company. We don't even know what they're in for at this moment in time in this little capsule, but as we do know, it changes wrestling forever. Absolutely. So I mean, it's pretty big.
Yeah, just to clarify, I mean, the thing with, I was watching it was a shoot interview with Vince Russo and Kevin Nash talking about this time and when he wanted to make his decision to go. And that was on the build up to WrestleMania 12. Bret Hart was refusing to let Nash go over him in the build towards the Undertaker versus Diesel match because he wanted to look strong going into the WrestleMania 12 main event. And Nash said, and this is from Nash's mouth, that was the moment he knew he wanted to leave. He told Hall he wanted to go to WCW because he couldn't work with Bret Hart. So we talked about the money and all that, but I don't think without one or the other, the NWO could have existed in the same way. I don't know if one man could have had the same impact that the both of them did. I think Hall would have been fine. He would have gotten over in his own way. He came in as an outsider before, right? So he could probably keep it going. But the two of them, they're just an unstoppable force that they created this thing that was the momentum that was too strong to be stopped for Nitro for 83 weeks following this.
I mean, listen, the mathematics were perfect. The recipe was the most delicate thing you possibly get. We got the best thing out of pro wrestling from this turn here, so at least until years down the line. This is huge stuff, and I don't know. The lightning just struck in the bottle perfectly for this. I don't think there was a better way to do it or any other way to do it.
Yeah, not to move too far ahead, but he does talk about in this interview, and I do recommend it, guys, if you guys check it out. It's like on a Zoom interview, so it looks like Kevin Nash is being filmed on a potato, so it's pretty hard to watch in that way, but audio is fine. So if you check it out, he does talk about how he challenges anybody, and he'll say it to their face, The Rock, Austin, Taker, anybody that's ever been in wrestling, being in that building where they would just make an appearance and they would shine the spotlight on them in the building. They'd make a 2-second appearance and they would leave the arena and be mobbed because of just people truly thought that they were outsiders. WWF guys that have invaded, it was the most ingenious way to book somebody coming in. And I'm sure outsider stuff has been done before, but never to this level where you felt as if you were watching. So you were watching WWF and you were, as a fan, like, my guys are coming over. It was a brilliant thing to bridge the gap and bring over fans from over there.
Yeah, it was wild. I remember when it happened as a kid. I was like, what? And then things only get worse down the line. I mean, WWF brings out fake Razor, fake Diesel. It makes you really think, like, what the hell is happening here? And it was really a war. It felt like a war when you're in that young mindset. And Scott Hall comes out there in the jean jacket and the infamous, "You want a war? You got a war." It's beautiful. And this is pro wrestling in probably its purest, most awesomest form that you could possibly ask for. This captivated me many, many years until where I'm at right here with you. It's intense, man.
So we'll get into it more, but Nash does make a point in that interview, and I don't want to just move too far ahead, but he does say it's kind of frightening for Bischoff's business that two guys from WWF could allegedly take out your whole roster. And that, like he had said, the writing was kind of on the wall. If the NWO thing didn't succeed and take off the way it probably did, you could have destroyed your company with this whole storyline.
Yeah, I know the quote was, "Two guys with baseball bats just tore down your whole entire roster. What the hell are you thinking, man?" But he's right. And like I said, lightning in a bottle. They were riding that wave. They really hit something that was needed and wanted and not seen in a long time. So it was really just it was a perfect fucking recipe for success. And it was great.
Yeah, and everybody was ready for it. So no contract terms are available, but the general belief within the industry was that WCW was offering Kevin Nash a 3-year guaranteed deal, with reports on the price being anywhere from $450,000 a year to $750,000 per year, more likely closer to the lower amount. Nash is expected to join Hall, who gave notice on February 20th. Hall had not officially told WWF that he would be accepting WCW's offer, although it was widely believed that this will be the case coming forward. Nash is scheduled to start back with WWF on March 15th after missing a few weeks with separated and fractured shoulder, which we know that will not happen. So we have Ramon is expected to return from the 16-day WWF tour of Germany, which starts on April 7th and work through mid-May. They go through the details about what would happen at WrestleMania. We talked about it last week, being that it would be a different match. They obviously got Roddy Piper in to take the place of Razor Ramon. But yeah, WWF is taking this hard. They're suspending Ramon. They are writing Nash out of storyline. They can see the writings on the wall. They know it's going to be a problem. I don't think they truly knew how big of a problem it would be.
No. And time will tell, it was, but it also put them in a nice spot to work on their own merits and try to get on their feet with what they had in the bank. And as we see, it proves to be a success. And both teams kind of bettered each other. It made it fun. It made it such an interesting and overwhelming time to be a wrestling fan. It was the best.
So Meltzer was trying to figure out what the gimmicks would be, because at the time we didn't know about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, what their characters would be as the outsiders. So he had said that if Ramon is expected to jump, he would have to change some aspects of a successful gimmick ring character. In the case of both Ramon and Diesel, neither would be able to use their current ring names, obviously, because they're IP of Titan Sports. Diesel's transformation would be somewhat easier because there's little gimmicked about his character other than the ring name, and perhaps the leather pants and black glove, holding his fist with the glove there to get a crowd response. In the case of Ramon, sources claim Titan will at least attempt to claim intellectual rights over his slicked hairstyle with the curl in the front, the toothpick, the Spanish accent, and the jewelry and the ring attire. However, before wrestling as Razor Ramon, Scott Hall worked for WCW as Diamond Stud and believed he had the slicked hair and the toothpick already, so I don't see how they can keep him from doing that. So continues on and talks about trying to claim what is really a person's looks. Like, you can't tell someone not to slick back their hair. It's kind of amazing to me that they tried their best to do that.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, you only own so much of the character, but the person's always going to be the person. It's just insane that they were trying to think like, oh, you can't walk to the ring with a toothpick. What do you mean you can't walk to the ring with a toothpick? It doesn't make any sense. It's just what he was doing. It's asinine looking back at it.
So they had said sources in WCW claim a third major star will follow in their footsteps shortly. There were a few guys that came on. I'm not sure who they're referencing, but I'm sure we'll see down the line throughout the newsletter and figure out exactly who it would be, because we saw a lot of guys jump. So
yeah,
I don't know if anyone else made the impact that those two ever made. And I don't know if anyone would make that same impact that those two made on any company. I don't know if even today it could be comparable. I really can't think of two guys that would make the impact from AEW to WWE or WWE to AEW or vice versa.
Yeah, it would either have to be like Kenny Omega and Hangman, or it would have to be Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Like, I mean, that's. I mean, the only thing to compare it to, top guys.
Pulling the thread, maybe like a Shield reunion in AEW would probably be the closest thing to it.
Yeah,
but even then, everyone would still know it's a work, because I think part of what made this successful was that everyone thought it was a shoot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'll put butts in seats.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tony. So while not announced at the press conference, WCW will be sending Lex Luger in his second career match in Japan, and the other being the 1992 Tokyo Dome show, and Randy Savage will make his New Japan debut on the show as well. Just from the 4 matches announced, it is believed the show will be an easy sellout. Really cool to think about this. I did not know that Randy Savage worked in Japan at all during his WCW tenure. This reminds me of today, talking about guys coming from AEW and John Moxley going to Japan. We got Bryan Danielson that wants to work in Japan.
Yeah,
pretty cool. It reminds me of today.
Very much so. A lot of this keeps running back into the modern day era, which is fun. It makes it way more exciting. And I don't even remember Macho Man working for New Japan back in the day. So pretty crazy, pretty big.
Yeah, so further down in the newsletter, we have Sid Vicious at 35 announced on a live Memphis television show that he'd be retiring due to neck and shoulder injuries from wrestling. We know he's not retiring, but
he probably should have.
Probably should have, yeah. He wouldn't have had that nasty ankle injury that he later endured down the line.
Yeah. Ooh.
So also there was a snafu in the hotline and that Gene Okerlund reported Lex Luger had won the TV title from Johnny B. Bad. Apparently they had done interviews ahead of time where Luger had the belt and Okerlund got his weeks messed up. So actually Okerlund corrected the hotline, so very few actually heard the message. The plan is, or at least was, since things change on a momentary basis, for Luger to beat Bad either at a WCW Saturday night taping or more likely on the 311 Nitro for the title switch. So when you start to record in bulk, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
The talent, the people cutting promos, you could start to lose track about when things actually happen, and this is one of the cases. So, not a surprise. We're gonna talk about Johnny B. Bad in the next newsletter about the issues he's having, but we're definitely seeing that by taping things ahead of time, you run into an issue because you start to give away spoilers on your own show.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the key to things is trying to keep everything close and not so spread out like that. That way you could have a compelling show and not get lost in the shuffle. So it's got to be hard to tape in bulk. You know what I mean? Like absolutely, especially if you're on the outside doing interviews and stuff like that, or the hotline in general. So it's got to be hard. So kudos for them for not fucking up too bad, but
yeah, I mean, it looks like they caught it in time, and like obviously Meltzer came down to him, but who knows how many people saw it? And that's the beauty for it. If that was something they would have grabbed it on Twitter, screenshot it, it would be there for everyone to see. Similar to what we saw on Twitter last week for Dynamite, or the week before, I should say, when John Morrison debuted. They had the AW team say Johnny Gargano's here, and then deleted it, but everyone saw it. So it's either Johnny Gargano's coming or the AEW social media team has nothing. They have no idea what's going on the show, which
they get
one or two.
The wrong Johnny.
Who knows? So we have the May 19th pay-per-view show from the Rosemont Horizon, which is the next one after Uncensored. Will revive the Battle Bowl format. As we've written earlier, the belief is that WCW is that after the success of the Rumble pay-per-view, they believe that big matches don't draw buy rates, that you need a gimmick hook to sell. At least it is in 6 cage matches. The idea of debuting Steve McMichael on the show is a natural, but for whatever reason, supposedly it is being delayed until later. Do you have any memories of Battle Bowl, positive or negative?
I don't think I don't remember it. I wasn't at it. But the Rosemont Horizon is the Allstate Arena. It's literally right up the road from me.
Yeah.
I go to that. There's a Target next to it that I go to every other day. So it's close to home. I've seen all my matches there. That's where WrestleMania 22 was. That's where WrestleMania 13 was. Yeah, so it's just it's part of history over in Chicago.
That famous wood ceiling that held in the noise, right? That's what everybody says.
Absolutely.
So further down in the last part of this newsletter, and we'll move on to the 18th in a sec. So characterizing Sabu, Shane Douglas, and Public Enemy as no talents is way off target. Sabu is a high spot wrestler who's never given a chance in WCW. He had been booked with good angles. He'd be as over as Eddie Guerrero. His match with RVD on January 27th was a work of art until the screw job finish messed it up. Van Dam was also more impressive in the show than I ever remembered him being as Robbie V in WCW. So this is in reference to Bischoff coming out and making fun of the ECW talent, specifically Sabu, Shane Douglas, and Public Enemy. Dave Meltzer's taken up in arms for Sabu, talking about, and I put this quote in here about how if they were booking him with good angles, he'd be as over as Eddie Guerrero. So Eddie Guerrero was a topic of the debate show this week on Monday.
Yeah.
Who was better, Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero? We're not going to get into that. But do you think Sabu was on Eddie Guerrero's level at all?
Back then, I think he could have been. I really do. I think Sabu, I mean, even into his later career, he was really talented, very physical in the ring. He had really cool spots. He had a unique look to him and a unique in-ring presence. So I think he was on par with an Eddie Guerrero, but as time told, he wasn't booked properly. Even in his latest run he had with WWE when they were doing the ECW angle, if it wasn't for him getting caught in the car with RVD smoking weed, I think he would have had a better career there. I think he was on the verge of he wrestled John Cena
at SummerSlam.
It was a great match. It was fun. Sure, he was a little sloppy here and there, but I think if he had a better push, he would have learned a little bit more and probably been in a lot more of a fine tune. But I think Sabu is definitely a top tier wrestler, especially in that genre and that era.
Yeah, not worth at least being hated on by Eric Bischoff, not justified in any way. But WCW was throwing barbs everywhere, and ECW was like the little brother to WWF at this point because they were being a feeder talent thing, whether Paul Heyman admits it or not. It has revealed that Paul Heyman was semi on the payroll, blah, blah, blah. So I think if you're in the business, you probably knew that. So Bischoff was taking shots at them because he knew it would get back to WWF in some way. So petty as usual. That's what we used to hear on Shot Nostalgia. A lot of pettiness between both parties, Titan and Eric Bischoff.
Yeah. Instead of taking shots at them, he should have been taking shots of nostalgia.
That's exactly right. Taking shots of nostalgia, he probably would have been a little more calm. I wish we could play the voice stuff that Nick Storm had sent us, that all the voice thing. So maybe we'll play Eric Bischoff's voice on here one of these days with him supporting the show.
It'd be perfect.
So we have the March 18th newsletter, and this is what we talked about with Johnny B. Bad. So Johnny B. Bad, aka Mark Marrow, quit WCW on the morning of March 11th after an airport discussion with Eric Bischoff prior to his scheduled Monday Nitro appearance, and is expected to sign a 3-year deal with WWF imminently. So the gist of the situation is that Marrow was working without a contract as his most recent deal, as said by sources to be in the $300,000 a year per range, and it expired on February 28th. He had been offered a 2-year extension, rumored to be in the same dollar range. However, there were other things in the contract that weren't settled. Among the items were the quarterly windows, which allowed WCW to fire wrestlers under contract and have no further obligation to them. According to those close to Marrow, he went to Winston-Salem and wanted Bischoff to sign a paper which would guarantee him the amount of money he had been making, which is about $6,000 per week. All the two sides were in negotiations. Apparently, he had been given verbal agreement that this would be the case, but he was under the impression that unless it was signed, he'd be making the same $150 per show that the lowest paid wrestlers in the company made. So he approached Bischoff in the airport, put Bischoff on the spot, and said, I need this to be guaranteed. I'm going to make money, thinking Bischoff would bend to it because he wanted to keep his star. And Bischoff was like, dude, no, like, I don't know what to tell you, but go enjoy the juices and all the perks of being in WWF because we're not paying you that money.
Yeah, rightfully so. Like I said, Johnny B. Bad, Mark Marrow, no matter what you paid him, he didn't do nothing for me. It sounds like he didn't do a lot for a lot of people. So good riddance. I'm good. I'm all right.
It's pretty crazy to me that he viewed himself as this superstar. It reminds me a lot of the Juventud Guerrero thing in like the mid 2000s, where like he was telling everybody he was the Mexican Rock and he was whatever. And people eventually just like saw through it, because you could say all these things about how big a star you are. You could say you're going to get over. You're going to say you're going to be a huge star, but until you do it, people are going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
And Mark Marrow is one of those guys. Like, he had the look. He had some in-ring talent, obviously. He was a good wrestler. But something was missing from him. There was like a piece missing, whatever it was, and call it the it factor, call it something else, but it was missing from Mark Marrow. And whether it was WCW or WWF, he was a miss, man. And the fact that he was making $300,000 a year is insanity.
It's very, that's the most shocking thing you said all night.
Especially too, if you go up to what they were offering Kevin Nash to come in, closer to $450,000. So for $150,000 more, you're getting Kevin Nash, who changed your whole company. Mark Marrow was getting $300,000. Like, it was almost crazy. A blessing in disguise to watch him go before these two guys came in.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And like I said, Mark Marrow's probably the highest paid manager that WWE's ever hired for Sable. I mean, that's all he was.
Yeah, so it continues. Just to kind of give clarification, Marrow also told Bischoff in the discussion that he had been negotiating with Titan and said that the offer on the table from them, and apparently said the offer was in some ways a better deal, but wanted to know where Bischoff stood with WCW's future plans. Anyway, Bischoff refused to sign the paper, and one thing led to another, with Bischoff asking Marrow to finish up that night after putting Luger over. Marrow refused to work the show unless they had a written deal for the night, and reportedly told Bischoff he had hoped he was leaving on good terms after 5 good years with the organization. And then Bischoff supposedly told him he wasn't leaving on good terms at all. AKA, go fuck yourself. You're leaving us in a bad spot. You're trying to hold me up for money. This looks like, tale as old as time. Wrestler trying to hold up management for money. Yeah. And that's their prerogative. They can try to do that, but you have to suffer the consequences. And when it fails, you have to hope it works out somewhere else, because now you're burning a bridge kind of over here.
Yeah. Absolutely. And listen, I don't agree with Bischoff a lot, but he's 1000% right in this instant.
Yeah, so with all the big money coming in with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, they're trying to cut corners and try to figure out ways to lean up the salaries. So the Nasty Boys, who were let go last week in a big measure to bring salaries under control with the additions of the big money deals, because it's not only Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, they took on the Steiner brothers as well. So although after a meeting on Tuesday at Bischoff, the Steiners were talked in the staying. They were rumored to go, but now they're staying, but they have to pay them the money. So that is four guys that are being paid a lot of money here. So there's plenty of other talk about wrestlers switching camps. Apparently, there've been at least informal dialogue regarding WCW and Sean Waltman about him bringing him into work with the likes of Eddie Guerrero. However, that has fallen through since Waltman's WWF contract has rolled over. We know eventually Waltman does join his Click Brethren. So I wonder if that is the guy who would be joining them as well. But a lot going on here. It's interesting because Turner was like this ever expanding financial burden, and they didn't care.
Yeah.
It's interesting now that they're looking at it as like, oh, all right, we got to start leaning up a little bit and cutting the fat. And why not? Because what are the Nasty Boys really doing for us here?
No, absolutely. And as we see in these next two episodes, a lot of Steiner brothers presence, and happily, I'm excited to see them here. They bring a legitimacy to everything, and it's good. But the Nasty Boys, X-Pac definitely was the guy that they were alluding to. I think it's definitely the 1, 2, 3 kid. You got 3 of the 5 Click members, right? So I mean that's pretty big. That's huge.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you would go with that, saying that there's somebody else there that big, unless it was a Bret Hart or something along those lines. But as we see, Bret doesn't come for a little bit later down the tailpipe. So who knows?
So ironically, this is in the newsletter. Hulk Hogan, who is still earning tons more than anyone else in wrestling, has apparently been vocal about the newcomers being paid too much and felt the money would have been better spent on, get this, Yokozuna and Ultimate Warrior. So could you be more out of touch, dude? And especially too, he's getting mad about Hall and Nash coming in. They wind up being the money train for him only a few months later. He just doesn't even know it yet. He'd rather Yokozuna and the Ultimate Warrior come in. And listen, I love both those guys. Rest in peace to the both of them. But wrestling had moved on, and Yokozuna and Ultimate Warrior were not changing the face of WCW like Hall and Nash were.
No, not at all. Not worth any amount of money.
Especially where Yoko was at this point. I mean, he was very overweight. He was always an overweight guy, but he was at the point where he couldn't move and wrestle. So by the time WrestleMania 12 rolled around, he was in really bad shape.
He was
and Warrior, he flopped horribly in WWF around this time. So finger on the pulse, Hogan was very, very lucky to have Hall and Nash come in and then eventually ride the coattails of the NWO angle, which worked out perfectly. I'm going to give Hogan the credit for it as well. He had to agree to it, and it wouldn't have worked with anybody else. To me, it had to be him. It had to be him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Sting would have went a few miles, I think, but not nowhere near as the length. It was a road trip with Hogan and the NWO,
So we have some more ECW notes in here, and very interesting. I don't want to talk about too much about this, but since ECW is catching fire here in the 90s, Meltzer's starting to wax a little bit poetic about ECW and talking about how he feels it might be the next step in evolution of American wrestling, while others say it's simply a violent aberration with a cult following. So he had said, and this is interesting because now ECW is long gone, buried, and all that. In recent years, there have never been a promotion anywhere in the world that has drawn so much attention while not proving itself to any serious degree at the box office. The reasons for the attention worldwide is in many ways deserved. ECW has had a tremendous effect on pro wrestling, not only in the US, but also in Mexico. We now know we can look at the effect of ECW anytime a weapon's pulled out at a WWE show. Without fail, the ECW chants rise up. ECW still has drawing powers. You still see ECW shirts everywhere. Now that we can kind of put ECW to bed, we know it's long gone. What do you think ECW's effect of wrestling really was? Do you think it's just a subsect of wrestling that GCW was born from? Or do you think it's sort of revolutionize wrestling as we know it today, like he was saying?
Man, that's loaded. It definitely revolutionized things. I mean, we wouldn't have, half the shows we have. There would be no TLC without ECW, I don't think. I don't think there would be an Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Do they even do that anymore? I don't know. But I mean, just going into a talent aspect, Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, that all came from Chris Jericho's mindset. I mean, he started in, he got his big push in ECW before he went to WCW. RVD, we had a good stint from Sandman, Sabu, Balls Mahoney in WWE for the ECW reboot. Balls Mahoney hung out longer than he should have in any aspect. He's a great worker, great talent, but I didn't see him being around as like after ECW died. He was still part of the shows for a while. I mean, you got a lot of stuff that came from ECW that still exists today, including a GCW. I'm pretty sure ECW is more on the revolutionary post than they would be. Not. So I think they changed the business.
I completely agree with you, and I think going even further, the reality-based programming we eventually see here in WCW is what started here in ECW. So the programming we see with Austin here in ECW and Pillman and all that stuff, and then Raven and Sandman and Tommy Dreamer, all that stuff was eventually
Mick Foley.
What we see. And Foley as well.
Just so many names you could pull out of that bucket list. And it was also a place where people got to go and kind of rebirth themselves, like a Rick Rude, or we got the business class Rick Rude out there, and then he finally became a thing in WWE again, WWF, and WCW is very important. I think ECW did a lot for the business. And talking about ECW, Paul Heyman's still on WWE TV praising his tribal chief now. He was a smart guy. He really did business for himself and made what he created bigger than anything. It's a big fuck yeah.
Especially today, like a lot of independent promotions have modeled themselves after ECW in a big way, where you get this cult following and then you sort of branch out and have more of a mass appeal to the audience. And it isn't just the extreme measures that you're having on the card, because on the undercard, you get the Jerry Lynn and the RVD matches. You got Lance Storm and Just Incredible teaming up. You got all these guys that are going out there. I should say Perry Saturn also
Rey
going Mysterio, out there.
Eddie Guerrero. You got everybody was there,
GCW, where there's not people want to talk about how it's all blood and guts. It's not all blood and guts. A lot of the work rate is great. And if you go back and watch some of those matches in ECW, you know what we're talking about. I'm hoping that we eventually get to some ECW and shot nostalgia, which would be sort of challenging, but with the music being removed and all that. So I'm sure we would just bitch and complain about it, but it would still be cool to go back and watch a year of ECW, because I think it's worth checking out.
We'll slight the entrances. It's not ECW's fault that the music got pulled. That's a big Vinny move. But we'll throw on we'll make playlists on Spotify. We'll share it with each other. We can just listen to the good shit when it comes out.
We'll just mute it and we'll play Natural Born Killers over our Alexa speakers.
You could do it throughout the whole show and it'll still feel like an ECW show.
That is true. All right, so moving on here. So from the live Monday Nitro before, 6,899 fans paying $68,600 on March 11th in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So giant pin Jim Duggan with a chokeslam. During the match, Brian Pillman came out with two large banners which read, "Call Brian, 1-900-288-PILL." Eric Bischoff is still trying to work everyone on this angle, as he went so nuts behind the scenes, and several employees actually believed he was mad about Pillman interrupting the show. So we had talked about how Pillman would be done with WCW. He's still sort of floating around here in the ether, showing up and trying to be an outsider, right? Similar to what Hall and Nash perfected in only a few short weeks here. But this really makes me feel that Bischoff had an idea about what he wanted to do. He wanted to use Pillman to do the things that Hall and Nash were doing, and it has me believing that what they were planning for Pillman was what they eventually did with Hall and Nash, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I feel like it was the the starting point of what he wanted Hall and Nash to be if he got them. But he had to start somewhere, and this was kind of like the testing, putting your foot in the water, trying to figure out if it's lukewarm, if it's cold, or if it's hot. And if you're ready to roll with it, do it, man. Like let's go with it. So I think Pillman did a phenomenal job carrying it, and Bischoff's the luckiest guy in the world to get a Scott Hall and a Kevin Nash to carry something so big so well, and it's just crazy.
So the final thing here on the newsletter is the WCW hotline is once again banning any mention of anything or anyone having connection with WWF from orders that came directly from Ted Turner. So they're just trying to avoid lawsuit. We know this is the last time they mentioned WWF on their programming, but on the hotline, they're not trying to give away things on there because I guess it could be used against them in court. But
yeah,
that's it for the newsletter, man. There's some good things in there, not as revolutionary as usual. I'm sure as time goes on, we're going to get more details about more of Scott Hall coming over and the birth of NWO. We're going to see if Meltzer had any idea Hogan was the third man before it happened. I'm so curious about that.
Me too, man.
So let's get our fix, man. Let's start reviewing the two Nitros we have on deck here, March 11th and March 18th. Are you ready for it?
I'm fucking ready.
All right, here we are. We're going to be reviewing our March 11th WCW Nitro live from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the LJVM Coliseum. And our current WCW champions are as follows. Ric Flair is our world champion. Our U.S. champion is Conan, the beautiful Conan that we are loving so much during this 1996 run. Our world tag team champions, Sting and Lex Luger. And our TV champion right now is Lex Luger. So somewhere between last week and this week, as we mentioned, it probably happened on a Saturday night taping or a house show. They took the title off of Johnny B. Bad.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, not crazy, but weird that they didn't save it for a televised event.
So it's just gone. I mean, it's similar to what they did with the U.S. title from One Man Gang to Conan. We saw that they have no scruples about just removing the title from a guy and having him show up next week and say, hey, you missed it. I mean, you just hope someone doesn't notice, but that's where we're at here. We have a new TV champion. It would have been cool to have Johnny B. Bad just do the job.
Yeah.
But obviously he wanted his money guaranteed and he refused to do it if he wasn't getting his ways.
I mean, it is what it is, right? It's business, daddy. And if you ain't going to follow the business code, you ain't going to get that title, daddy.
So our hosts are here to join us, Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and the Emmy Award-winning Steve Mongo McMichael, who's in all his glory tonight. You want to take the lead on this opening match here between the Giant and Jim Duggan?
Yeah, man. I mean, we had Hacksaw Jim Duggan, fighting none other than the Giant with Jimmy Hart in his corner. It wasn't a bad match, actually. I thought the Giant did a great job for being as green as he was. I thought Hacksaw really carried both guys in the match. Just in a retrospective view, I think it was good to have the Giant in the ring with somebody as a Hacksaw Jim Duggan, such a veteran of the sport. So it was good. It was fun. A lot of back and forth. Jimmy Hart eventually interferes and costs Duggan the match, and the big man goes over. And Jimmy Hart is Jimmy Hart, man. It was fun. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I was a big fan of this match, and I think you see a lot of the raw talent in Paul White, eventually the Big Show and the Giant, and he's a really big guy, pretty athletic for a guy his size. We watch a guy like Omos, who's about his size right now on Raw, who can't do half the things, if not more, of what the Giant's able to do. We eventually see Giant gets the hang of being a big man and what he can and can't do, especially that feud that he had with Brock Lesnar in 2003, where he was doing drop kicks and taking superplexes off the top rope. He really comes into his own. And you're right, he's green here. He's a young gun. He doesn't really have
not as green as he could, like he was, but I mean,
for sure,
he's definitely more developed. But I think putting him in the ring with like I said, a future legend like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, it's huge.
100%. So the next match we have on our docket was probably I'm again not going to give spoilers away as far as our favorite matches go. This is definitely up there. We got the Road Warriors defeating Rick and Scott Steiner. This match was supposed to be Legion of Doom versus the Nasty Boys, but someone took care of them in the back. Obviously, we know the Nasty Boys were released from their contracts, but it's the Steiner brothers for a surprise making their long-awaited return to WCW on Harley-Davidson motorcycles. This popped me. I was super pumped. This technically was like a dream match, if you really think about it.
Yeah,
I got my Road Warriors pin right here on. This was a dream match, and I think on pay-per-view, if you give it time, maybe we'll see it as somewhere down the line to give them longer than 10 minutes. But I was really, really excited to watch this match. I was a huge fan. This is definitely one of the better tag matches we've seen on Nitro so far. And this is probably the best the Road Warriors have looked. I mean, they look pretty good on pay-per-view at Super Brawl. But I thought this was like the first time I was wowed by them on TV here. I thought this was a great match.
Yeah, I mean, how can it not be? You got two of the best in the ring at the same time. Like you said, I wish it was a little longer, but it was fantastic. I mean, we got the Road Warriors getting the win. Mean Gene comes out, he interviews Scott Steiner. Steiner's like, the tag division does, before he was doing his Steiner math programs. You want Samoa Joe? But he says the division starts with them. Rick comes out, and Rick's there. Mean Gene's interviewing him. Rick's like, this ain't the end for us first, the Road Warriors. And it builds up a future potential feud. It's great. It was everything you could imagine. You had a great match, great post interview. Steiners looked great. Road Warriors looked great. This is life. This is what I'm a wrestling fan for.
Oh my God. Yeah, I agree. And one thing I did note in my notes was that we had Scott Steiner doing the Steiner recliner, when not as his finisher, but he did sit down on a rear naked choke that was reminiscent of his future finisher. I thought that was pretty interesting because it wasn't his finisher yet. He clearly wasn't the big Papa Pump character yet, but it was interesting that move is always in his moveset. I wonder what made him decide to use it. Maybe because he got so big he couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it was there for the taking, and maybe it just stuck with him. Maybe he just really liked doing that choke with the sit down.
I want to give credit to Animal as well, man. He was selling those suplexes so well for a tag team that gets everyone gives a hard time for being awful sellers and just going to no sell everybody. These guys, you could tell they really respected the Steiners because they wanted to make them look good on their debut.
Yeah.
Interesting that you're having them lose for their debut match, but it really doesn't matter though. Like the Steiners are coming in with a lot of reputation, coming back from Japan. They feel like legit tough guys, but yeah, I don't know. It's just odd to see a returning team lose in this capacity because I'm not used to the way that works. I mean, AEW does it a little bit now, but it's like it's whatever, I guess, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I think the Steiners had a repertoire, a history of being a great tag team already, and them coming back. I think it was just writing on the wall, and they needed the Road Warriors to go over to legitimize them. I mean, we're not too far along from the Road Warriors coming back, so it was like a good mashup. We got both teams kind of doing their thing, and it made for great television and great pro wrestling. I really love this match.
Yeah, guys, go back and check this match out. The coolest part was the near falls in this match, and with an LOD match or the Road Warriors, however you want to call them, Hawk and Animal.
Yeah,
you don't usually see a lot of near falls with them. It's either they're going to go out there and hit you with the big moves, and you're going to either kick out or you don't. But they were kicking out. They were brought to the brink. The Steiners look good. There was a point where Rick hit the Frankensteiner, which was awesome. It was weird to see Hawk and Animal selling in such a big way, but it was awesome. And I think that's what made the match so good because you're so used to seeing one-sided affairs with Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors, I should say.
Two of the best tag teams of our lifetime in a match. It was great.
So you want to take the lead here on the next match? We have the World Television Champion debuting.
We got good old Lex Luger coming out. An entrance list, Alex Wright too. Am I not wrong there? He came out.
No, he was in the ring, got the job.
Yeah, he was already there. No disco dance. No Dacia. We're going down the Autobahn. It actually wasn't a bad match, and I wrote down it was really cool to see WCW trying to give. I mean, Alex Wright had a lot of time here and a lot of offense against Lex Luger, which you don't necessarily see a lot on today's television. So kudos to WCW for kind of putting that over. Like, it wasn't just a one-sided match between Lex Luger and some schmo. Like, Alex Wright put in some offense there. He was doing really good. It wasn't terrible back and forth. Not a bad Lex Luger match which is saying a lot. So yeah, I mean, it was fun. I think it's saying a lot that WCW gave him so much time out there. It was cool.
The more I think about it, the weirder it is that they put the TV title on Luger, especially where there's a built-in program with DDP and Johnny B. Bad. I guess that's all you need to know about how they felt about where Diamond Dallas Page was at that point. They didn't feel like he was ready.
No,
but they had a built-in program. They could have just dropped it to him and then continue the TV title. But now you muddy the waters by putting the TV title on a tag champ. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll let it breathe for a sec. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but
yeah,
it seems it was a better idea to just have someone else hold the TV title. It's weird to have two guys because now he's defending both. What are they going to do in the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like the tag team landscape is kind of changing as well at the same time. So maybe it was for the better that they put it on Lex. But I mean, they could have. DDP obviously could have used the push. He's obviously a talented dude. But I don't know. It feels like with the Steiners coming back, the Road Warriors are on top of the game right now. It feels like the tag team landscape's getting more serious, and maybe it's time to take the belts off of Lex and Sting, and we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens in the future. But
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to happen soon, whether it's at Uncensored or not. I really don't know. We'll see. But the World Television Championship wasn't on the line here, but it was, again, 6 minutes and 37 seconds. Not a bad match at all. Luger gets the win. The crowd really could care less about Alex Wright. I think he's better now than he was then. I feel like he ages better because he fits today. I can see him wrestling today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's got a silly gimmick, but I think it would get over in today's day and age too. Much like the Cassidys and stuff like that. Like I feel like he's right up that alley. So maybe a future, or like a leader of the future. He was just there doing his thing, and he got over. I mean, listen, who has a 6-minute match on national television against Lex Luger and makes it look decent in this day and age? It's not an easy task.
And love him or hate him, dude, Alex Wright's on TV almost every week. He's doing something right in their eyes. He's there every single week, and he's there throughout the whole run too. He's always on Nitro.
Yeah, he was in the games. He was in everything, man.
We call OG Fig Kid Tom the staple here. I think Alex Wright's the staple of Nitro.
I think so too.
He might be.
I like it. I still remember the dance fucking 20-something years later.
And you're rocking it. Yeah. So here we go with the main event. We have Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Booty Man versus Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Kevin Sullivan. And this is a lumberjack strap match. So we have Liz coming out. She is dressed like a voluptuous heel. She's wearing an outfit that is very unlike Liz in WWF, let's just say 1989.
Yeah,
there was rumored to be about 25 lumberjacks around the ring, but there's probably about 12. I think the announcers were saying that there was going to be 20, but there was 12.
Yeah.
So it's hard to even know who was at ringside because the camera was all over the place. I was trying my best to name everybody, but you couldn't name all of them. I don't know if you have the list of who was out there. I try my best to have the list here.
I seen Animal and Hawk.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. We saw Giant and Loch Ness, obviously.
Yes.
But other than that, it was just kind of a muddied mix of everybody.
Stealing Mick Foley's gimmicks. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
I seen the Giant. I was like, is that Mick? I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly. We have the end of the match saw Hogan getting the big boot and the leg drop on Flair to win. Match went 6 minutes and 29 seconds. Kind of a muddied mess here.
Yeah.
A lot of different personalities. And of course, add to the fact that you had 12 guys at ringside with straps. A lumberjack match can be messy anyway.
Yeah.
And there was no one in this match that really can carry the weight. This was just building towards Uncensored, and we know what eventually we're going to get with the giant triple cage match. That's going to put the finishing touches on this storyline here. But this storyline can't end fast enough, man, with the Sullivan stuff and Arnett. It's just, man, like, can we just get past this?
I feel we're like a sneeze away from it, but it's taking forever.
Yeah. Like, I love Ric Flair as champion, but then, like, he's still paired with Kevin Sullivan. Like, if you just take out Booty Man and Sullivan, and then sub somebody else out. This would be an awesome match.
100%. And it's silly. I can't deal with Beefcake being Booty Man. Like every time the announcers call him it, I'm like, this fucking cringe as hell.
So
and then Ric Flair's just putting up with Sullivan. And thank God it's almost over. I know it's almost over. I'm excited for it.
It has to be, right? Because they're moving. It has to be.
Yeah. I don't respect Booker Man.
Maybe not. And I have that shirt I purchased. You guys go to Teespring, guys, and purchase that shirt. It is a great shirt. Anti-Taskmaster. Get rid of Kevin Sullivan and support the movement.
Goddamn right.
Before we move on to the March 18th episode of Nitro, we just have the Mega Powers leaving and the heels coming back for an interview with Gene Okerlund. Hogan may have won tonight, but the Doomsday Cage match at Uncensored is coming. So we have that on the horizon. We know what's going to be happening. Flair was going crazy, and Liz gets pulled close. And that's all there is for now. So we move on to March 18th to Nitro, which is the go-home show before we have Uncensored. So there you have it. We'll give finishing thoughts on Nitro as usual when we're done with both. I'm going to change the scroll here to the 18th. And we have WCW Monday Nitro live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, the UTC Arena, March 18th, 1996. So our champions are all the same. Lex Luger is still our champion. They say at this point he had won it on March 6th, to be clear. So he won it sometime in between our last episode. So that would probably put it at a house show, I would say, right?
Yeah, or they just made it up.
Yeah, or they just said he won it, whatever.
He beat him in the parking lot when they were traveling to another hotel.
So right after the intro, we see Giant beating the crap out of Loch Ness in the aisle, and then Jimmy Hart cheering him on. So, yeah, we have Loch Ness, who was originally a Dungeon of Doom guy. Now he's in the mix with John, right? Because he's, I guess, going against the family, or they figured he's not working out. Let's not have him involved at all.
At least
so I guess this is the way to get him off our TV, right?
At least they were seeing the right thing. They're like, fuck this guy. Get him, kill him out.
So we were supposed to have the World Television Champion Lex Luger versus Loch Ness. We did not get a match. Luger comes out like nothing's happened to Loch Ness and wins via countout. That was really funny, though, because Luger just walks right past the beating.
It was great.
Jimmy Hart's in the ring. Seconds.
He's like, Luger, yeah, come on, baby.
Luger gets the win via countout. He celebrates like a cocky heel with both belts. Afterwards, Lex goes to the announce table to talk about what a role he's been on the last few weeks. He just had the fastest TV title defense ever. And Heenan is the only one to take the high five from our good friend, Sexy Lexi. So this is probably the end of Loch Ness. I think they had said he lasted about a total of 6 weeks. We're at like week 5 here. So this might be the end of Loch Ness, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have Gene Okerlund is out sick tonight. So allegedly he had the flu. So Shivani interviews the Mega Powers. So the word Mega Powers plastered all over Savage's attire, which we talked about last week. I don't know how they're allowed to do that, especially since Mega Powers it has to be IP of WWF. It has to be.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some loophole that it's not, because obviously they're pulling at all the stops to sue WCW at any given turn. Maybe it's just like one of those things that it's like, all right, Hogan owns it, you know?
Yeah.
So Hogan's wearing his old Hulkster shirt and bandana as well, too. So this interview is just to hype the Doomsday Cage match, and tonight's main event gets booed by everybody in Chattanooga. So people, again, this is sort of the anti-Hogan sentiment that people are not big on what Hogan's doing. They're sort of feeling like this is getting old.
No, I had it written down. The second Hogan got on the mic, the crowd started turning on him. They were booing right away. And it was, they were just putting over the main event and Uncensored. Macho Man had that nitroglycerin style in a little while. And, it was interesting. You could tell the crowd's kind of over Hogan. I don't know how they're getting away with the Mega Power shit, or I'm pretty sure Hogan owns his IP for, Hulkster, Hulkamania, all that shit. So he was able to use it because he could do it still today if he's not under contract with WWF, WWE, TNA, whoever the fuck it is. But the whole thing ends with Macho Man. It's not over till it's over. It's decent build up, but you definitely feel the crowd turning on Hogan. Loud boos.
Oh, yeah.
Loud boos.
Oh yeah, we definitely see the end of Hulkamania as far as we know it. I mean, never really got started here in WCW. It just never had the soul it had in WWF. But
Yeah,
we're really going to see Hogan take off as a heel, and I'm really excited for it.
me too. Me too.
All right, you want to take the lead on the next match here with the Steiner brothers and Public Enemy?
Yes, we got Public Enemy, Steiner Brothers, possibly my favorite Public Enemy match since we started Shot of Nostalgia. It was really good. Steiners win. They got that classic bulldog off the top rope. Beautiful. Yeah, man. It was a really good contest. It was fun. I thought it was really enjoyable. Public Enemy didn't get too much to the shenanigans. They tried using the table. Steiner was like, "Fuck this!" He jumped over, clotheslined him. It was good, man.
So this show, they try to make it look like it's live and unexpected. The one thing Bischoff did in the beginning of this match was acting like this was a standby match. So
Yes, I forgot all
they were
about
just
that.
like, oh, I guess this match is happening, which was kind of interesting because you don't want to make the programming feel so formulaic. So this sort of upset it. Like obviously it was on the card from the start, but impromptu matches have a place on wrestling. We see it throughout the history of wrestling. Not as much in AEW, but back in the day, WWE, they used to like, let's just have a match right now. And
Yeah,
this was good too. You mentioned it before. The Steiners right now feel like they're on fire. This was a great match. And I mean, they got two matches that under their belt. The Road Warriors was a great match. And against Public Enemy, they carried them to a decent match.
yeah,
And with no shenanigans, no sort of smoke and mirrors. They had to be in the ring and do their thing. It just shows how talented Rick and Scott were to carry these guys to a match. Because we saw what Public Enemy were doing prior to this. And it certainly wasn't this quality of wrestling. I love this match. I thought it was good.
yeah, me too. I thought it was really fun. It shows that Public Enemy wasn't god awful if they had somebody steering the ship for them. And I think the Steiners needed the win. It worked out perfectly. I mean, how else are you going to sell it? So it was good. And the Steiners looked like $1 million.
They really
fun.
do, man. They have such a good look to them, and their moveset's so unique. I love them. It's interesting to me now with Braun Breaker that they're not leaning into the Steiner thing. I know it's such a WCW thing, but you own that IP. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I talk about. Like, they're so afraid of just like, oh, people thinking that WCW, like you're being successful based on a WCW idea. Like, wrestling at this point is a melting pot of ideas. Like, dip in and take something that works. And Braun Breaker as a Steiner, to me, works, man. That's a built-in main eventer for you.
100%, man. He's got the look. He's got the lineage. Fuck it, let's do
it. Yeah, and that's the same thing I always thought about with Kurt Hennings Jr. with Kurt Axel. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have a guy built in like with name brand, and I get it. You don't. Not everybody can be Charlotte Flair, and you don't want everybody to steal the gimmick. But
yeah,
I mean, you had Mr. Perfect's son, and you gave him any gimmick but what probably would have worked. I don't get it.
As Sneed would say, man, grow up, man. What are you doing? Grow up, man.
So before we move on from this match, in the middle of the commentary, Bischoff was telling us that Dennis Rodman got suspended for 6 games. So there's possibly at some point in time a slim chance of an opportunity that's still plausible for Dennis Rodman to show up at Uncensored this coming Sunday. We don't see Dennis Rodman at Uncensored this Sunday, or I don't think we do. But eventually we see Dennis Rodman in a ring in WCW.
Yeah. Sprinkling the seeds. They mentioned him several times throughout not just this match, but the show. So very, very sprinkling the seeds in. It was cool.
Very topical because he's obviously a top star on the Chicago Bulls at this point. He is a firecracker of a player. He's a rebounding machine, but also a colorful, flamboyant, eccentric athlete for the time that was very polarizing.
Yeah.
And he was made for wrestling.
Absolutely. And that's cool. I forgot which commentator said it. It might have been Heenan or it might have been Mongo, but they were like, we love Dennis Rodman and Bischoff's like, whoa, I don't know about that. Like you could hear him trying to protect the company a little bit. Like, no, well, we're not saying that. We're good. Like, it's just funny to think about now because that shit would get away in a heartbeat here. And it just shows you the times changed. It's crazy.
Did you happen to see too, before, and again, I keep going back, saying we're moving on from this match, but I did like it a lot. Rocco countered a tilt-a-whirl into a lucha-style arm drag on Rick Steiner. Like, that was, on Scott Steiner, I should say.
Yeah.
Scott, he couldn't get a second one, then Scott hit him with a slam. That was a cool transaction between two decently big guys that you wouldn't expect that from.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Like, when the ship steered the correct direction, I think then Public Enemy is really good tag team. And this just was one of those matches that showed that, and everything else before that was kind of a fluke. So it's cool to see them showcasing their actual talents instead of just doing a fucking flip off the top rope through a table and beating each other with chairs and merch. I thought it was a really well put together tag match, man.
Yeah, and I think you nailed something before. We'll get to it because there's another tag match. The tag division sort of coming into its own where they're going to put some emphasis on the titles and bring back more of the established tag teams, more so than Sting and Luger, who are just paired together. So we're seeing sort of a transformation here, and I think we're watching it live in real time.
Yeah, very cool.
So we have the Booty Man versus Arn Anderson. Would you like to take the lead on this match?
Well, shit. Thought it was okay. Kimberly came out to the ring. They were talking about her a little bit. It was a really just kind of a normal Arn Anderson match. You could throw anybody in there. It didn't have to be Booty Man. Woman tried to use her shoe again. Booty Man shoes her off, no pun intended. Kind of just like throws Arn out to the floor. They disrupt her actions, and he wins the match after that. They kept calling Kimberly the Booty Girl on commentary, which I thought was interesting. It was weird because I'm more. I know Kimberly with the DDP Kimberly a lot better than I remember this. So I'm just like, what the fuck are they? But interesting nonetheless. It wasn't terrible. It was I don't know. I just got no love for Beefcake, and I mean,
no, me either. And I think to me, it wasn't as bad as the squash matches we saw that Arn had with Hogan. It's Brutus Beefcake, man. It's just not interesting.
Yeah.
So
no.
After the match, Booty Man takes Kimberly with him to the back. I mean, nothing of note here. They're just trying to build up Booty Man as a legitimate partner for the Mega Powers, and it just feels forced to me, just like everything that Brutus Beefcake's involved in. So
yeah.
But all right, so next we have the Road Warriors versus the Nasty Boys. And this is the match scheduled for last week, but the Steiners decided to come back instead. So this was the match we're supposed to get. So the Nasty Boys were not relieved of their duties yet. They will be soon, as we mentioned in the newsletter. There was no answer to what happened to the Nasty Boys. You would assume it was the Steiners, but I guess they don't want to start a feud here. They don't know exactly who it was. The Nasty Boys are all taped up, which can't possibly be legit. I'm not thinking it's not it's a work, has to be, right?
Yeah.
This match, we have everybody coming to fight. The Steiners come down to interfere while the ref pays attention to all that. Animal nails Knobs with his wristband. Now ref Nick Patrick turns around and counts 1, 2, 3 with LOD winning the match. So match went 5 minutes and 56 seconds. This was not anywhere near the Road Warriors match from the week before.
Or the Steiners match a match ago.
There was some good brawling in this match because these are some tough hitting guys here. Nothing really of note here. This is sort of the match was just there. I don't understand why you had the Nasty Boys get attacked the week prior and then nothing is followed up with it. It was weird.
Yeah, I think it was just a clusterfuck used to kind of promote Steiners and Road Warriors again. Really was like that's what it seemed like, at least to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't want to overthink it because a lot of times they're just putting matches out there because they're trying to get guys on a card to, give them a payday sometimes, or just to put them out there because they haven't been out there in a while. But I guess he got the job done and made the Road Warriors look strong. They came out here and got their win. The match felt much longer than 5 minutes and 56 seconds, but allegedly it was only that amount of time.
Yeah, but hey, maybe it was like the Nasty Boys' last payday or something, and they own him a TV match. Who knows? Who knows what the ideals behind it were? But it was all right. It wasn't nothing to fucking brag about or throw confetti at.
All right. So in our final main event, prior to us having obviously uncensored the next week, we have the go home segment is Hogan and Savage versus Ric Flair and Kevin Sullivan with Woman in a Texas Tornado match. So this is a big brawl between the two teams. Everyone's fighting out on the floor where Hogan puts a Savage foam hat over Flair's face and beats him up. That was a pretty funny spot. This was all over the place. So the ending saw Hogan gets nailed and everybody cheers because they think Hogan is beaten again, but nope. The Hulk up cues Arn Anderson. The Hulk up cues on Arn Anderson. Hogan hits the big boot, goes for the leg drop, but Arn hooks his leg. Hogan goes out after double A, where we see Brian Pillman attacking Randy Savage, and the referee calls for the bell. So chaos at the end. Pillman shows up in the main event. 10 minutes and 9 seconds. My confusion, Mike Belcaster, it's a Texas Tornado match. How is there DQs, right? No DQs?
Yeah, and then I mean there was that Taskmaster started attacking Pillman, Hogan started attacking Pillman. Booty Man came out. It was all over the place. And then we get the big reveal. Zeus, I don't know what they called him yet. I didn't hear if they called him anything. King Gangsta, not New Jack. So hold your applause. Comes out, and who's the big guy?
Final Solution.
Oh, these names are just absolutely epic. So Team Gangster, The Gangster, Queen Gangster, and the Final Solution. They come out. Hogan, Hogan, Savage, Booty Man. They all retreat. Flair gets on the mic. Hogan, do something, brother. Woo, come on. I forgot. Taskmaster talked was not memorable and didn't give a shit. I'm so waiting for Kevin Sullivan to just get the fuck off my TV. And yeah, it was interesting. They kind of just shit all over Hogan, Macho Man, selling the pay-per-view uncensored. Woo, we're coming for you, Hogan and Macho Man. Yeah, it was okay.
So Z-Gangster was Zeus from 1989 WF, as you alluded to before. The Final Solution is a really big bodybuilder. According to Wikipedia, he played Bane in Batman and Robin, which came out in like 1999, 2000, the one with Mr. Freeze. He was Bane.
Shit.
So
no way. That's cool.
Yeah, so there
gives him some credibility.
Yeah, some credibility there. He played the cartoony Bane. But
with Arnold as Mr. Freeze.
Exactly.
Chill out, everyone.
So as we go off the air, we have Tony Schiavone joining all the bad guys for a word. Pillman is already gone because he's such a loose cannon. After Kevin Sullivan and Jimmy Hart introduced the two new guys in the ring and said what they're going to do to Hogan at the pay-per-view, Flair says that after Uncensored and Randy Savage is in the hospital, he'll bring Elizabeth to see him after she rides Space Mountain all night long. Woo! So, the best part of all this is that while this is happening, Bobby Heenan is talking about how Hulkamania is finished, and like he's so convinced for like the 1,000th time that this is it. Hulkamania is done. He's screaming it. It was amazing. This was a nice end to a build up for a feud I really don't care about, but it was really funny.
No, absolutely was. Listen, I thought the whole segment was entertaining. The match sucked. Everything was just a cluster, but it was fun. It was fun to watch. Again, Pillman just got the bunt end of it. He kept getting his ass kicked by everybody and anybody, and he almost died by the guardrail. Like he flipped over that guardrail trying to pull that chair out. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, exactly. So listen, at least it was entertaining. Probably one of the better chaotic ends of a Nitro. I mean, it's been happening so much. Every time Nitro ends, something's going on. We got to go to the commentary booth, you know. But this wasn't terrible. It was fun. But Z-Gangster, it's the point of no return. What is that?
The Final Solution.
The Final Solution. It's same shit.
So bad.
Got nothing for me. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Who's booking this shit?
So the one thing we got at the end of this was a cliffhanger. Whether you liked the cliffhanger or not, we got one. And that's something that was talked about in the debate on Monday, where we don't get that on AEW. Everything's sort of tied in a neat bow and we get really good matches, but there's no hanging on for the story. We got it every week on Nitro, man. For better or for worse, they left you hanging and you needed to watch the next week if you wanted to see the continuation of the story.
Yeah, it was very soap opera-esque. Like, you know, somebody would get shot, like dun dun dun, then it would cut to black and be like, next week on the World Turns, and it was very much of like that. And I think that was very Bischoff booking that shit, because he was like, I know how to get TV ratings, guys. Like, let me do it. You know, it was one of those kind of things. It worked. I'm excited for next week's, man. I can't wait.
100%. So we are going to be moving into the chaser here, and we'll pick our favorite match or segment from the 2 episodes of Nitro. Man, I swear, Shot of Nostalgia is like the fastest hour and change I do all week. This is just flying by.
Yeah.
I have a blast doing this with you. And talking about these Nitros as they unfold. But I'll let you take the lead here and talk about your favorite match or segment of the 2 weeks of Nitro and why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just for the record, 3 pages of notes, and I just watched it this afternoon. I mean, there's a lot of
that's why we're sending you to Vegas for Double or Nothing. That's why we need.
I'm trying. I'm going to MGM. I'm going there for Halloween Havoc. God damn it! But it's got that same vibe. It's cool. Man, my favorite match of both weeks was definitely the Steiners and Road Warriors. It was just so hard hitting. I'm already the biggest Steiners mark. I love the Road Warriors, my hometown heroes. How can I not love this match? It was just so good, and Rick and Scott making the return, badasses on the Hogs, brother, and it was good. It was so fun and hard hitting. It like I said, it really changed the landscape of WCW's tag division in one match. That's all it took. One match sold the rest of the. Like I'm like, all right, I'm here for this. This is good.
Yeah, I echo exactly what you said. I'm looking through the rest just to be a contrarian. I was going to pick something else, but I can't. Like, I wouldn't be being honest with you guys because it was the best quality match that we got in the last 2 weeks. There were some interesting segments, interviews and all. That last segment with the debut of whatever with the Flair promo at the end, I guess could be good. That did pop me with him bringing Liz to see Savage in the hospital after she rides face down. I guess that'd be a close second, but I love the hard-hitting action that we got in that match, and I want more of that. And I know that there's more of it waiting around the turn for us in the rest of 1996. That's what has me so excited because it's not just the tag match. We're going to get good storytelling throughout the rest of the divisions. And once they start getting up there with Hall and Nash, you're really adding 2 guys that can work too.
Yeah.
Aside from the character work we're going to be seeing from them, they add a quality of wrestling that you don't really have on the roster right now. It just adds quality main eventers that have an ability to make you believe in what they're doing. And I love it, man. I can't wait to see them get into action and start winning titles and start getting involved with the NWO stuff. I'm so stoked for it.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that the Steiners are just making their return here, but they go on to do amazing work together, and they break into their solo career a little bit down the line. Like it just shows how good the fucking and versatile the Steiners were. They're such a good tag team and such good entity inside and outside of being the tag team. I mean, Rick Steiner went on to have a good career. Scott Steiner went on to have a great career. I love it so much. And then, as you said, Hall Nash coming in, we see the teams working together. It's awesome, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so pumped as well. And I think you kind of nailed it. I'm still stuck on it as well as not just the tag division has been being transformed, the whole roster really is, because once you bring Hall and Nash out, that means you're cutting out 2 other guys that were getting time before them. And I can name a couple guys, preferably Kevin Sullivan and Booty Man, that shouldn't be on TV every week. And then as you start to pull away the people that are time sucks and people that are bringing down the card, you're only emphasizing the good talent on the roster and then making for interesting stories. So, and I know we're going to get a lot of interesting stories throughout the rest of 1996 because there's a lot of stories to unfold here. We haven't gotten the rest of the Luger and Sting story. We want to see that. Why is Luger afraid of the Road Warriors? We haven't seen the culmination of that. Harlem Heat is involved in the tag feud. Obviously, we have the end of this Dungeon of Doom and the Mega Power stuff. There's a lot going on in the world of WCW, and it's only getting better, guys.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is like the most exciting time I've gone back rewatching wrestling. I'm enjoying it. It's really fun. And we're getting to kind of see everything through a different kind of view. Now that we're older, we know the business a little bit better. It's awesome, man. I'm really, really, really stoked for the rest of the year for Shot of Nostalgia, let alone like the coming months, the coming episodes of Nitro. Everything's just slowly trickling out and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And no more Booty Man and Taskmaster. Please,
it's
God.
what they call evergreen content, man. Just there's so much of it that it's almost hard to consume. And the other stuff that I'm doing in between is finding the supplementary stuff, watching these shoot interviews, watching things, listen to other podcasts that are talking about the events that we've been watching. So it's just jogging my brain. I'm also reading The Death of WCW again by Brian Alvarez. So I have that in my mind too. I'm trying to bring you guys all the relevant information that brings it to the forefront for you guys. We try to keep it professional. I try to keep it up to the level of my partner, Belly to Bellcaster, who is grinding right now in Las Vegas.
Yeah, no, they haven't stopped grinding. You can see, look at the bags under my eyes right now. It's Vegas. I mean, you got to get going. I've been to the Nitro Grill about 4 or 5 times since I got here. It's been great. The burgers, the Mean Gene, the main event burgers, they're the
Really good
best.
stuff.
Yeah. Put that cigarette out, damn it.
All right, so we're ready to close the tab. We'll give you guys a final wrap up. We'll do some shilling, and then we'll get out of here. You guys can enjoy your weekend and get Double or Nothing weekend started.
Yeah.
It didn't play on my end. I'm hoping it played on yours. It just said error, but you were dancing, so I'm assuming it played.
I'm always dancing when we cut the commercial. David, no, it was great. Yeah, it was definitely playing. I was chilling.
All right, so we're gonna give our final wrap up. Do you guys be clear? The next week's show will be June 3rd, as I mentioned, and we'll be talking about WCW Uncensored 1996, and then the follow-up Nitro, which is on March 25th, 1996. So great things. We are winding down March. We're rapidly approaching that summer months where all the good stuff is happening. Episode 8 will be April 1st, 1996 and April 15th of Nitro. So a lot of good stuff going on. I'm going to pull up some of the merch you guys should be looking at because I think it's important for you guys to know. We have some shirts that you guys can check out. So we have the Shot Nostalgia shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees. So go to Pro Wrestling Tees/Tavern. You guys get the Tavern Daddy shirt. Buy some merch, support the show. It goes a very, very long way. And you guys can also check out our Teespring store. We have the Anti-Taskmaster shirt, as I referenced before. I have that shirt myself. You can get anything else there. There's some, like, I guess you would call them the hidden gems of the Turnbuckle Tavern, the shirts that can't be shown on ProWrestlingTees.com. But we have enough to go around, guys. Go check it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to share with you guys is go to the turnbuckletavern.com. We are all over the place. Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. Go check out Coming Down the Aisles TikTok. J-Bone's on TikTok as well. He's doing some good stuff over there. Follow the Discord. We have a Discord with a whole bunch of chats. I'm sure Mike Belcast will be posting some updates about things going on in Las Vegas. If you guys want to know his travels, you guys can follow him in real time there. And of course, put your notifications on YouTube. You guys, you never know when we're going to go live.
Yeah.
Join the community, guys. It goes a long way, and I think we have a good thing building here.
We absolutely do. I'm telling you, Discord's probably one of my favorite things in the world. We all go in there. We share music together. I mean, me and you, we've bonded over some really tight music that we both like. Tom shares pictures of his dog. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. We're talking about food. We're talking about wrestling. We're talking about everything else, life. I mean, they talk about some real sports and fake sports like hockey and football, and it's the best, man.
Dude, this is always a blast, man, and I'm hoping right now, again, to pull the veil back a little bit. I hope you have a safe flight. I hope you have a great time in Vegas. You're representing the Tavern well, and there's no one I would have better representing us as a face of the Tavern because you, man, you're so personable. I have all the love for you, and I think you're going to do great things while you're there. So I appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate the beautiful words, man. And just a shout out to anybody. If you are at FanFest, if you are at Double or Nothing, if you are walking around Vegas and just see me in the Turnbuckle Tavern hat, Turnbuckle Tavern shirt. Yeah, I mean, listen, I might not have the hat on. I might just have the shirt. I might just be rocking it. But I mean, if you just see me, come up to me, say hi. I'll have stickers. I'll be able to high five you. I might throw you on a vlog. I might just throw you on a live, for God's sakes. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm telling you, if you want to say hi, don't be a stranger, man. I'm a happy person. I'm ready, willing, and able and gable to talk and chill. So, I mean, come on, bring it on. It's Vegas. Anything goes. It's Double or Nothing weekend. FanFest is going to be great. The whole thing, Dynamite was fantastic. I was at fourth row. If you didn't see me, go rewatch it. Throw play Where's Waldo with Belcaster. It's fun. Yeah, I'll be fourth row camera side. Hopefully, I think, as long as I didn't reverse it. But it's good. It's fun stuff. So please, yeah, come say hi. Don't be a stranger, man.
So I know you won't be out hanging at the Tavern with all of us making picks. So I'm going to put you
on the spot
here.
I might. We'll see what happens on Thursday.
Then I won't ask your prediction for the main event. I'll let you think about it.
Oh, but go ahead. We know because this is after Hanging at the Tavern. So please.
All right. So who's winning, Punk or Hangman?
Chicago boy in me says CM Punk. I say it's now or never. I don't think it's going to not happen. Okay. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be so excited because that just legitimizes Hangman Adam Page's title run even more. So fuck yeah, I'm here for it, whatever it is.
Enjoy the ride, guys. Whether it's 1996 or 2022, we're just here for good wrestling, man. And go elbow drop your jacket, Mike Belcaster. Make sure you guys, we've had our fill, man. This has been a blast. We'll see you guys next week, June 3rd, 2022, talking about WCW Uncensored 1996 and Nitro from the 25th of 1996. We got to go, guys. We're out of time. Tip your bartenders. See you guys next week.